What's up, guys? We'll give everybody just a few minutes to um, join in, and then we'll get started here.
Gone today. Oh,
Okay. It is 12:01, so we can get started here. Or 12:01. It's 7:01, so we can get started here. Okay. Let me make sure you're muted. Go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Yep. Just make sure you're muted. Okay, so let's go over the markets here. So let's see. Okay, so currently the markets, what's going on is we've had this sell-off. We had a daily squeeze. Weekly squeeze lost momentum. We've been talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Okay. We've been talking about how we were going to have a sell-off, and this was more than likely going to happen, and having to move down into the 21 EMA, which is right here. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And yeah, so it was pretty plain and simple. Like weekly squeeze lost momentum here. Then you can see we made one more high, but then we were pretty much choppy after that. And now we lost momentum, had a reversion back to the 21 EMA, and it happened pretty quickly. So you can see here, it's kind of like a multi-step process, right? So first we lose momentum on the squeeze. Then we have our sell signal where the candle that makes a high, we have a close below the low of that high candle. So here's the candle, here's its high, here's the low. Now notice this week here, we didn't get a break, but then this week here, we did get a break. And then ultimately that led to the flush down back to the 21. So we're right around here at the 21 EMA. I would imagine we may find some support, maybe a quick relief bounce. And it doesn't mean get long, but it means, okay, something to pay attention to. So now we continue to play the trend. Is there anything telling me bullish about this chart? No. Weekly chart is still intact. Daily chart, if you look at this, you can see we topped out at clear resistance right around this level here of right around that 524 level. And so now you can see here we had this daily squeeze, ended up once we lost that 21 EMA and kind of had two closes below, 1, 2, then we kind of continued to flush and stair step down. So We still have momentum in the daily squeeze. We can still play that as a momentum play and can still kind of take advantage of that until we see otherwise what we want to see is kind of the same thing on the weekly time frame, but the opposite basically, where it had dark blue bars showing loss of momentum. We want to see loss of momentum on the so showing yellow bars like here or here to kind of signify, all right, we might be taking a breather here. So with that being said, daily squeeze firing off. Now we can revert back to the 21 at any point. So I would be aware of that. Now, that's kind of a key piece we want to pay attention to and make sure we note going into this week. So if we see, just be cautious of any short covering. Now we can go look at kind of the overall markets here. So we are starting to get more and more bearish. Now, here's the thing. You can, if you've been with me any length of time, you know how the put call ratio works. With the 10-day moving average, typically what will happen is we'll get a reading above 1.0, and then we'll start to see a rally in the markets. 1.0, we'll see a rally in the markets, and we've got plenty of classes on that in the section, in the the education section. And so right now we still have room to go. Like this is where we saw the bottom in October, November. So you can see right around here where we peaked out, kind of mid-October is, let's see when the bottom was of the market. Yep, right around mid-October, you can see that. And that's where we bottomed out and kind of reversed. So now I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but we've got a little while, right? You can see here this stayed above here for above 1.0 reading for about a month, give or take. And so what we want to do here is we still have some downside room is essentially what I'm trying to say. And so we can have this move up and kind of trade up in this 1.0 before we start looking for some sort of serious reversal. Okay. Right now, we aren't bearish enough. Aren't bearish enough as we were there, and everybody was caught off guard by this rally that we had here. But if you were in the signals chat, we knew this was coming. It showed here. So now what we look for is, okay, if we get a move back above there, which is going to take a few weeks. So don't be looking for the bounce right away. It's going to take some time. Okay. So that's number one. That's the first internal we want to look at, right? So that's the put call ratio. We've got, this is showing, okay, we could have some more downside. We've got room for it. Okay. Now, bonds are looking pretty nasty. I don't think they look good at all. So what we'll do is we'll take a look here. So bonds, if this is going, think of this inverse, okay? So like if I'm looking at this chart, think of it inverse. Now, if this is moving lower, then that means bonds or interest rates are moving higher. Okay. So interest rates are priced higher. So during this time, this is interest rates climbing. I don't know why they do it that way. That's just how they do it. Okay. And then this is when bonds went down and or so interest rates went lower. And so now we're back in a period where interest rates are starting to inflate again. Now, here's the thing. We had a week or a daily squeeze. So that pushed us to the downside. We broke support and kind of flushed, right? So now what we can look for is we have to pay attention to this weekly time frame. Now, this weekly time frame looks very, very bearish. Okay. So, like if you look at this, you can see the last weekly squeeze that we had. You had first, we're in a downtrend, we're rejecting that 50. We get this cross of the 21 or the MACD. We've got the squeeze shifting to the downside. And so when we get that push to the downside, this is what kind of happened. We had a huge move, and that's when everybody was freaking out about rates, right? And then now here we are again. MACD's crossing. We've got bearish histogram. So this may be something we want to play long term. Shorting rates, and potentially we could go see this low here. Let's see if we have any relevant support and resistance levels. So, I mean, here is one. Another relevant support level right around here. So we can kind of expect us to go. There's a pretty good chance we could go revisit that. Now, this is where we have resistance. You can kind of see that's exactly where we rejected off and started to head lower. Is there any, yeah, so, okay, so that's a good question. Is there any way that for someone that doesn't play futures that could play the bond market? So what you would go to is TLT. So this here has options. They're cheap, they're liquid. I would look to play these options. And yeah, you can see here we're breaking some pretty critical support as well. So yeah, play this right here, TLT. But okay, so why does this matter, right? So like the reason this matters is because if interest rates are going up, which remember, this is an inverse chart, if interest rates are going up, then the market is going to go down. Or sorry, they have like a kind of correlated way they trade. So if interest rates are higher, more people are going to flood to safety. They're going to go towards things that are more safe. A 5% interest rate on their money, they'll be okay with that. That's why they'll do that and put their money towards that rather than putting their money towards equities because they may not move as well. So like if interest rates are moving higher, that's not typically good for stocks. Okay. Same with the dollar. And we're going to get into that now. So this is moving lower. The bonds are moving lower. So that's not a good look for equities. Okay. So S&P 500, whatever equity you like, right? You can see here we're bear flagging. Nothing looks good about this chart. Okay. Next, the dollar. The dollar looks pretty similar to what the bond market is doing. And I've got all these switched up. My goodness. Okay, so you can see here, the bond market is pretty much mimicking what the dollar is doing. So you can see here, we're bull flagging and doesn't look good for the dollar. And if the dollar goes up, that's also bad for equities. Okay, so we have to know how all these play in conjunction with each other because that's how you're going to be able to capitalize the best on these trading opportunities. Okay, and so you can see here we've got clean MACD, clean squeeze, weekly squeeze. Dollar looks good for upside, unfortunately. So that's not typically a good sign for equities. Now we've got a resistance level right around here, so we can watch out for that. But other than that, this chart looks really good. Weekly squeeze is firing off as of today. So we have to pay attention to that. So we've got all of these. And then lastly, the VIX. The VIX is in a weekly or daily squeeze. This one, I don't love to pay attention to the VIX. I'm more concerned about what the dollar does and what bonds do and what the put call ratio does. The VIX is kind of the least of my worries, right? So like we had a big down day on Friday. I mean, it was a pretty decent down day. But and you could see we essentially gapped up and moved much lower. Now there wasn't much correlation in the movement of the VIX and how the S&P moved. So and then same thing with Thursday. So I don't put too much weight on the VIX. I mainly pay attention to the dollar and put call and bonds. And so all of these things are pointing towards, okay, we could probably continue to see more downside. Now, the bonds and the dollar affect tech stocks the most, which is most heavily weighted in the S&P 500. Okay, so that's kind of all that. So I hope that helps and that makes sense. That is all the pieces to the kind of puzzle for the market. Now let's take a look at how the market trades. Okay. So now we have nothing bullish about this chart. Like I said, daily squeeze firing off. We got the MACD looking bearish. We've got our indicators crossing. Nothing looks good. Okay, so now let's talk about some price levels that we can watch out for. Okay, so this level of about 494 is going to be kind of a key level here. So you could see here previous support where we had bounce, 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 and we kind of held previously now may act as a support today. So, and going into this week. Now, if we break this, look for a short. Now, you guys may know I'm going to be a little busy this week. I've got baby coming on Monday night. And so I'm not going to be trading as much towards the end of the week. I'll be here tomorrow, but I'll be giving you guys like updates and keeping you updated. But right now, this is kind of like going into tomorrow. Pay attention to this level here. This 494.33, 494 area. Mary, come on. Come on, Mary. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how to get that off, so you might have to deal with it for this session. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to get that off. But okay, so this here, this 494 level, you're going to watch out for that. That's our next support. And then pretty much from there, we don't have support until 490-ish. And I'm not going to be betting pretty much on the upside for right now. I'm just going to continue to play the downtrend. And then from there, otherwise you can just day trade the moves up and down, but I wouldn't be swing long anywhere here. Okay. Even looking for a relief bounce, you're just taking the risk and there's no need to. Yeah. Okay. So next thing that we're going to be looking at is, what? Make sure you're muted, guys. Okay, so next thing we're going to be looking at is pay attention to that key level, and this is going to guide all of the rest of what the market is going to do. Okay, so if you are wondering about Nvidia, you're wondering about Apple, this is going to be your guide. What the market's going to probably end up doing. So you have to make decisions kind of based off of that. Okay, so yeah. Do you guys have questions or actually do you have charts you want me to take a look at? We can kind of take a look at the big names and go from there. But we can kind of go over some other stuff here. So someone asked about NVIDIA. Okay, so what happened? So here's what happens. The market will, a certain stock will have really great revenue. It'll have great fundamental things about the company. Okay. Now, what will happen is the big people in the market will reprice what the stock they think should be worth. And so now what you see happening is they always overshoot it. Okay. So what happens is they're going to reprice it and have this huge run up, and then they're going to have to reprice again because they overshoot. The same thing is going to happen with SMCI. And what do you know? It already has started to happen. They're starting to reprice. Now, does it mean that this company is worth less? No, it just means that this company it's just going through some repricing. That's it. And so that's it. NVIDIA, do I want to buy it here? No, that's like catching a falling knife. But like, if we want to look at some stuff, potential ways to play this, we've got some support here. So maybe look for a bounce around this 340 area is probably what I'd be looking for, around 340. And then we've got resistance here. So if you think it's going to continue down, maybe take a look at shorting it near this level here of around I'd go with 370 is where I'd be looking. So you got those key psychological levels, or sorry, 770. So 770 and 740, those are kind of your two levels to play around with and watch out for. And then from there, you got room to 710, 700. It could be could get pretty ugly. So that's this. That's NVIDIA. Um, right now, it's just breaking down. Daily squeeze, I expect us to continue lower, potentially to fill this gap. So I'd mark this level here for you as well, a gap fill level. And so a lot of times stocks will bounce at these supports. Like for example, we played SPY on Friday, and this was an overnight gap, so it was a little bit different. It's not going to show up on this one. It was on Thinkorswim, but there was a gap all the way down to 494. There was a gap between 494 and about like 496 level. And so once we broke support here, we got into this trade looking for the gap fill. And typically I don't love if here's kind of how you'll look at it. You'll look initially, you can look for the gap fill. And then after that, what's going to happen is it can either bounce at that gap level or it's going to flush through and continue lower. Okay. So that's something you want to pay attention to. And so in this case, it came down to that gap level and bounced perfectly at it. It was at about 494. So right around this level, actually, right here. So yeah, there's your 494. So that's something you want to pay attention to. We got in this trade and it went 160%. But what you want to pay attention to is when it comes down to those gap levels, it'll give you a good trade. And it'll give you a good trade for the gap fill. They're typically high probability. But the thing is, when it gets to that gap level, you kind of want to tighten up stops and watch where you're going. And so for NVIDIA, I'd be looking like as it continues to break support, look to play the gap fill. And as it breaks support levels, like if it breaks this level here at 740, I'd look to short it down and fill this gap here from here to here. And then if it can get back below that 70, 710 area, look for the gap fill at this level. So I'll probably be paying attention to that too. As long as the downward momentum continues on the S&P. Okay. All right. So XLE. What's this one doing now? Yeah. Okay. So we played this one a while back. I think it's valid for this one to still go as long as it can hold support here. Like I'd want to see it bounce right around here. This area, I actually really like that for a bounce right around here. So if it's going to bounce, it should probably bounce around this area. So we've got support all up in here. So yeah, I'd be looking for, as long as it holds the support, I'd kind of be expecting for it to head back to 100. It's got a weekly squeeze. Momentum is to the upside. It looks good. And yeah, maybe we get it. And notice how that level right here, that 92.63 level, matches perfectly with that 9 EMA. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of pullback to the 9 EMA and then continuation. So looks good. I like it. I I think this would be a much shorter term trade. I mean, we got in on this trade here, and so and we played the run up to, we actually sold it right here, and so I would be looking for just a continuation of that weekly squeeze. But yeah, Exxon, yeah. So they have earnings this week. Yeah, so this is going to do whatever energy ends up doing, right? So this is kind of one of those lead names in the energy sector. And so you kind of want to pay attention to it. This earnings could be that thing that kind of propels it higher or really a non-factor. So we'll just have to see. But I think that this could be some sort of it could be a catalyst for XLE to go to 900. But yeah, I'd like to see it hold over. This is essentially 120. So yeah, look for it to hold that 120 area. or get back above it, and it would look a lot better for more upside to revisit that previous high. And if you guys have other stocks you want me to look at, put those in the chat and I'll go over those. Gold. Yeah, this one's just been running. So the only way I'd look to play this is long. So I would just play the continuation of the strength and ride that strength out. I'd maybe be more so day trading it here. It was a nice weekly squeeze. Bull flag and then breakout front. Wow, that was a really nice move. So I would look for, yeah, just a continuation from there. And let's see if we can give you some kind of guidelines here. I like that it's holding this 9 EMA. So I think that you could probably just continue to play this until it ends up breaking that 9 EMA. It looks like it's respecting it perfectly. So maybe look for a breakout above this level. It's kind of been rejecting over and over again. Right around here at 21, 28. So maybe yeah, right around there. Maybe $22 is what I'd, or 222 is where I'd be looking to play that above. So yeah, I like the upside on that one after that. But yeah, I would just look for continuation as long as it holds that 9 EMA. I think it's a valid trade to the upside. As soon as it breaks that 9 EMA, that means support's broken and we could potentially see a pullback to the 21. Is there any other stocks you guys want me to look at, or are you guys good to go? I'm mainly going to be focusing on SPY this week. I'm trading a lot less than I normally will be, but that's what I would be looking for here. Tesla has earnings. I don't really know what you're going to do with that one. I wouldn't trade this one. I would just wait until earnings come out and then trade it after. But it looks bearish. Very bearish. Yeah, it's a clear downtrend holding that 9 EMA. Look, I'd wait till after earnings. I wouldn't touch it here. And yeah, you guys are talking a lot about earnings trades. Just stay away from the earnings. Just play stocks with consistent setups. News can be kind of a wild card. So just trade the stocks that have a consistent setup that you can trade on a consistent basis. News, there's nothing consistent about news. So stick with those ones. Yeah, we have a heavy earnings week. We have Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, all reporting this week. So should be interesting. And that I would lean to say also with that, stick towards day trading a bit. I believe the economic calendar is got some pretty good stuff in there too. PCE on Friday. So Monday and Tuesday could be pretty choppy going into this week because of what's going on later in the week. Like I believe we have, I think big earnings on Thursday, big earnings on Tuesday. So that's what I would be aware of. Okay, so I think it's going to go revisit this support here. So this 22 kind of level. And if it breaks this, we're going to go here. But really, I'm thinking if we break here, we're probably going to flush pretty hard. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So if we break this support, honestly, this is what I would do. With this chart, as long as we hold below here, this 27, really this $25 area, I would be looking to short it. Okay. That's what I would be looking to do. As long as we hold below 25, I'd be looking to short it. And then here, I guess we can't really use that. Yeah, so that's going to act as a little bit of support. Honestly, I like what I like on this trade is I would short if any pops and it holds below 25, basically that 9 EMA and that 21 EMA, as long as it holds below there, short this thing into new all-time lows. I actually really like this trade to short it back. So thank you. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to look to short that one for sure. Hold on. Let me get my notepad out real quick. I appreciate that chart. Yeah, that one looks good. Yeah, I think that's a nice short in all-time lows. So any other charts for me? If I far out, I would not be long this. Definitely not. I would definitely not be long this. No way. That's my opinion. But I mean, would I ever be in something that was once like it was once a $210 stock. It is now $22. It's probably going to go to zero. Based on the way it's trading, if it breaks this range, as long as it holds below 25, this thing will probably continue down and eventually get to zero, unfortunately. So no, I definitely would not be I would not be looking for this to move higher whatsoever. So sorry to say it, but yeah, I like, uh, like I always tell you guys, you don't want to be long something like this. Okay. Take a look at the weekly chart. We don't want to be long something that essentially is dropped and is now sitting near all-time lows. Like this is a downtrend. It's a downtrend. Now, stuff we want to be in is things like this. Like buy leaps on Microsoft. Like look for leaps on Microsoft. Look for things like Meta, that's at new all-time highs. Look for things like when those go on discount, those are like these big names. Like think about it. I understand that these stocks, those other stocks are cheap, like Unity Software. I know they're cheap, but they're cheap for a reason. Okay. These stocks like Meta, Nvidia, they're going through repricing and those are the ones that are going to lead. Have you ever seen the stock market rally without having a without having those key stocks run? Like Tesla, don't look to buy this. It looks terrible. The chart looks awful. Stay away from this thing. It does until it starts cleaning itself up. Right now, it's an awful looking chart. Like trade something that can give you some help you make some money to the upside. Um, and that would be things like Meta, Nvidia. Like Nvidia, it's probably going to be a good time to buy Nvidia here pretty soon. Just wait on for it to catch some support, balance out a little bit, and then when the S&P 500 looks like it's going to go higher, then that's when you pick that up. That's you want to pick stuff up like that. But okay, guys, um, I hope that helps. That's my time here. So one last thing, go look at so with SPY, pay attention to that 444 494 level. So if we hold that, expect a continuation to the downside. I wouldn't be looking to play the upside too much unless it's really short dated calls. But yeah, so these are the levels to play with. I'll keep you guys updated in the chat as always. Um, but um, just letting you know, sale ends tonight. If you're not a part of the signals chat, it's literally $10 for an entire month. Last week we had 570% gains. So if you put $100 into each of those, you would, oh, sorry, it was a little over 500. So about 530%. You can go check the chat. It has it all there. But 500 over 500% gains. You put $100 in, you're going to catch $500 out if you're following the alerts. It's how it goes. And I'm charging $10 for the entire month. I'm going to be less active this week. That's why I'm doing a sale for half off for the full month because I got the baby coming and that's happening on Monday night. But I'll be around tomorrow. I'll be around to answer questions here and there. But yeah. So what is the code again? I'm gonna put the code in the chat and I'll post it later. It's baby BR. That's why I'm doing the sale, because baby's coming on Monday. So all caps, baby BR. You're gonna get 50% off for the week, and or sorry, for the first month. And yeah, that's the time to take advantage of the uh that sale, because we don't really do sales often. But yeah, all right, guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. Yep, I will be a father soon. Still coming to that reality. But all right, guys, thank you guys for coming. I will see you tomorrow for the market open. All right,
See
have a
you.
good rest of your night.
Enjoy life.
Thank you, sir.